p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kriston H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
What up, guys? We are live here. It is Tuesday, September 30th, live here on the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. Mike McChesney, Kriston Harris. We have a guest tonight. Jay Dyer's coming back to hang out with us tonight.
That's going to be an exciting night. I'm excited to talk to Jay. I have to mention right away, though, Gilly Ghost in the chat said that their kid was 5-year-old was dubstep.
I told you it was Techno Tuesdays around
What's
here.
What's going on?
But it was actually dubstep,
Tuesday.
Right? Yeah. But you know we had to have a good time. We like to play around because we have a radio station, so we have to play illegally downloaded music, of course.
Right. That's just the way.
Copyright? What copyright?
What's that?
FCC regulations.
It's the internet.
You know,
internet radio. It's rough here.
We have this thing that we
What's
do.
What's the ASCAP?
This thing. Yeah. So,
Uh-huh.
anyway, Jay Dyer is going to be on the show. He's going to join us in a few minutes. jaysanalysis.com. He writes articles for us all the time. He writes about predictive programming and how Iron Man 3 is the plot of ISIS and Tron was predicting Illuminati, future transhumanism, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's not really crazy, but it sounds crazy.
Well, there's a lot of evidence to support it.
And I know you want to ask him about ancient Babylon and the mystery religion and stuff, so we'll get into that as well.
Probably get into some of that, with sun worship and Nimrod and maybe some Semiramis. Who knows? Maybe we won't touch on it at all. But hey,
we will.
We will. We'll touch on it a little bit in a very appropriate way.
Yes, we don't like to touch things inappropriately around here.
Not
this is an adult program. I should mention that. Should we start saying that? Should we start telling people that?
We've been just very Howard Stern lately. I don't know
I think
how
we
we
always
ended
have.
up here.
We've
how
always
did we
been
end
that.
up here? Well, I mean, we have history guests on. We have people from the History Channel, Science Channel, educational guests, politicians, and somehow we always end up in, Well, anyways.
Deep waters. Let's talk about the website.
Let's talk about the website here, guys. If you guys haven't had a chance to yet, make sure you guys head on down to therundownlive.com. That's where you're going to find the most information on today's news, the latest and articles, and also make sure you guys get on the site and share our information on your Facebook and Twitter. Social media is a big deal nowadays. And I remember we used to joke about, it's only the internet and things like that, but it's a huge tool. So if you're not on these things like Facebook, Twitter, we understand. But if you are, make sure you visit the Rundown Live's Facebook, add us, and share our articles on your Facebook and Twitter and things of that nature. While you're visiting the Rundown Live, right now we have a very exciting thing going on. We're trying to launch our first merchandise store. We want to start out with some inaugural Rundown Live swag and, gear for you guys. And what we're doing is we're running what we're calling the Merchquake 2014 campaign. We have exactly 20 days left to this day to reach our goal of $500. It looks like we're going to make it. We're about 87% of the way there, guys. And even if we hit our goal, the gear will still be available for the next 20 days. So make sure if you want to get limited edition inaugural Rundown Live gear, we're going to have it there for you. That's bumper stickers, hoodies, zip-ups, pullovers, and T-shirts, guys and girls style. Check it out, Merchquake 2014, top right of the Rundown Live website. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. I want to shout out to the guys over in FPRN and who've been that made a contribution. That was nice of those guys over there too. We are syndicated through FPRN Radio and Daily Paul. So check that out. Mike and I are really big on privacy. Privacy is freedom nowadays, guys. Check out Private Internet Access. That's a banner on the right-hand side of our website. They allow us to surf anonymously, check our emails, download, conversate, do cool things like Skype, and even avoid cool things like Reddit bans and video game bans for those Call of Duty nerds, and World of Warcraft nerds out there, which I play a little bit of in the historical sense, which Red Arnold, our guest yesterday, mentioned he played.
He wants to start raiding with you, apparently.
Only if he talks like Sean Connery.
I don't know who Sean O'Connor is. I swear.
I couldn't.
If he's an Irish actor, you're giving him so much free promotion right now.
I don't know what's going on.
5 computers.
Disaster. I cannot say Sean Connery.
$39.95 if you guys want to check out private internet access, Bitcoin, and all that stuff.
Thanks, Mike.
We also have a fancy app
me up.
That's on iTunes, Google, and Windows. Kristan likes to tell you about
it's
the app.
really cool, though, guys. With the app, you can actually send us your news while it happens. So if you have a cell phone and you record something while it's happening, you can actually send us an email straight from the app and download our past podcasts. And you can listen to them at your convenience on the way to work. But for those guys who are hardcore Rundown Livers, check out the TuneIn app, which is a 24/7 Rundown Live feed. Versions you probably wouldn't hear on the app. And other programming.
TuneIn is basically live, right? You're going to hear all the music and all that kind of stuff through TuneIn that you're not going to get in the polished broadcast.
We play a lot of videos a lot of times, too, that we can't put, otherwise
we do things like that aren't live necessarily during the show hours as well that would be associated to the TuneIn. So that's just to throw it out there if you're not following us on
subscribe to our YouTube as well. That's huge.
Yes, that is a major thing. We have our YouTube is growing finally because it was pretty dormant there for a while, but it's finally starting to gain subscribers, so we got to thank you. And obviously the merch quake is obviously we're gonna hit that $500 and we got to thank you guys, but you can keep supporting us like Kristan said.
And we can exceed it though. The more we have, the more we can use it to spread liberty, and we're really excited about the support you guys have shown us. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It means a lot to know that what we do means something to you guys, and we're not
going away. We're not going anywhere. This is just the beginning. I mean, we're into it a year now. I mean,
we have to start doing something, is what we're saying, and we're going to start doing different things. You're going to see it be more routine, where we're going to do more of this, but in a fun way that really works to spread liberty, not so much to really, make our pockets full, but to at least spread liberty at cost. So.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Why the symbolism was chose for the shirt designs to get people kind of talking. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, you use Illuminati symbols and owls.
I would buy this. Hey, a girl came into my bar and talked to me about this. She said, I don't know if I'm going to wear this because there's Illuminati symbolism, things like this, because I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, and if I ever go back, meaning she's not, that she'd be worried about wearing something like this. And
because she's of the pyramids and the eyes and all that kind of stuff.
And I explained to her that the imagery is a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil. Just like, anything.
Any technology, anything.
Any situation even. That's why they had public hangings back in the day. Even though it was bad for your kid to see, it was a learning tool that if you did some bad things, there's repercussions in life.
Right, and I do want to add that we do have Jay Dyer of Jay's Analysis, writer, good friend of the show. You've been on before. Do we have you, Jay?
You do have me. You have me at hello.
We had you at hello. I have to ask,
how romantic.
It's been a few months since we had you, so it's definitely fun to have you back on. But I was trolling on YouTube, and I don't mean to just throw this out there, but I came across some Alex Jones parody videos. Now, I don't know if this was your work, but let me tell you, these were kind of funny videos, and I just have to ask, I don't know if these were your doing or not.
Of course they are.
I knew it.
Nice.
They were excellent, man. These were years and years ago, right?
It was. There was a funny story behind that. When I made those, and by the way, they're all improv. None of them are scripted. They're not edited. They're just on the spot voices. So it's kind of a side hobby of mine. But
give us a sample. Let's hear a sample here.
You will here in a minute. But funny story. There was a comedian who a long time ago, Alex Jones had a contest, and there was an actual comedian who put all this money into this studio where he had his impersonation of Alex Jones, basically, and he entered into the contest, and I sent the guy my video, and he was like, "Holy shit, your Alex Jones is perfect. It's way better than mine." So he actually sent Alex my video and put together some as well. So really cool guy. His name's Dave Negron, but.
I just thought that was awesome. I was just trolling on YouTube, kind of searching for any long lost videos that I could find on YouTube, and I came across these older Alex Jones parody satire
That's
videos.
funny.
And
That's funny.
Watson posted those. I think two of those. I think 2 of the 3.
well, it was hilarious because you were like, "We're gonna have on Webster." You were even doing Tarpley's voice, and you had Watson. You had them all in there, man.
Webster Topley here with you. John McCain, mentally ill.
That's good, man.
This neocon says is true. Listen, he's mentally ill.
That is really good, bro. That is so awesome. I didn't know you had it in you, man. I didn't know you had that.
You're a performer, man. That's amazing.
Actually, I am. Yeah, I do stand up. So yeah.
I mean, that's awesome, though. I really didn't know that about you, and I know how you get into the predictive programming, all these movies, and you write these really awesome articles.
In-depth articles.
Yeah, it was good to see the comedy.
Theories.
It was good to see the satire piece.
I appreciate that. Yeah, there's actually I'm actually a pretty silly guy, so I may come off as this nerdy bookish guy, but in person I'm actually pretty silly. So you'll get a lot of impersonations and. So do you want to hear another one? Or you want to hear?
Yeah, what do you got for us,
man?
You want Alex?
Yeah, let's hear the Jones. He just got a stack of 1,000 articles right in front of him, Jay.
Yeah, he's a whole bunch of them, and he can't get through them fast enough.
It is Sunday, 2005. We're going to be live for the next 7 hours, folks. 7 hours of yours truly, and it is just unbelievable, the stacks of news I have in front of me. Just, folks, unbelievable. The New World Order is coming down.
There was fluoride robots coming for the teeth. The fluoride robots, they'll get you in the night, Jay.
Alex, the fluoride robots are going to come in your windows at night, and they're going to put fluoride in your teeth.
That's really good, bro. It really takes a special kind of person to
awesome,
pull
man.
off all those characters. You really got to have a little bit of talent.
I gotta reel it in.
I'll start working on you guys.
Well, you can, but we're pretty.
You can't do us.
We're not that smart, right? We're not that good.
No,
We're unpredictable.
You guys have that Milwaukee accent, so I can try to.
We do. We have that up north thing going on here because we're in the cheese state of Wisconsin. But we did want to actually talk about real things tonight. Like, I know briefly we talked earlier in the show about the ancient mystery religion. And I know, Kristan, you wanted to get into that. And we were kind of touching on that because we use some symbolism in our shirts and in our merch to kind of get people talking. And a lot of times that's frowned upon because, these days you see it a lot in pop culture, whether it's like Katy Perry or any of these other people that, Jay, you know all too well. You've written all about it.
Yeah. I just use it to pick up chicks, man. I say, hey, babe, I'm in the Illuminati. You want in or what?
Have you ever heard of Luciferianism?
I tell you what,
a
honey,
mystery religion.
I always frame it like I'm going to enlighten you, and so then the sex magic takes place.
Oh, there it is. Knew it.
Is that a real thing? Is there really sex magic?
They believe in sex magic. Yeah, there is. That's even the Nazis believed in that. They called it what? Vril. They hoped that it would create some kind of unique energy and they'd actually kill guys or get them near death and have prostitutes come in and sleep with them, like just bizarre shit.
Yeah, a lot of it, ultimately goes back to worship of the generative principle, just sort of the principle of life, and that's kind of a hallmark of all, ancient religions. So that's where the stream from which it comes, and a lot of it also comes out of Tantra, and Tantra has a place for sex having a ritual aspect where you sort of channel your energies, and you. The goal is really to just kind of send your energies into the the astral realm, where they believe that you're really doing all your work. So that the magical work is happening in the spiritual astral realm, and the things that you do in this life are telegraphs to that realm, if you will.
Well, and it's an influential tool. Let's not forget. People like the Rothschilds are on record saying that they'd like to use money or sexual means to control, leaders and things of that nature in history. I think it was Nathan Rothschild I'm not 100% on that. I'd have to check it again. But, you know, it is a very powerful tool, you know, when you think about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, a long time ago, you know, we have a tendency to think that people in ancient and, you know, medieval societies weren't that smart, and, you know, we're so smart now. But, you know, they figured out a long time ago, when you look at the banking system and how the banking system is set up, you know, that's actually an ancient practice, you know, usury, things like that. So it's not like, you know, we're the only people to figure things out. And they had figured out all the arts of the con as well. So con artistry is an ancient art, and a lot of that has to do with controlling humans' desires. And so what are the things we desire the most? You know, food, sex, shelter, things like that.
Money, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, you know, controlling desires is a huge factor in understanding, you know, the whole power structure as it is.
I don't even know, would we desire money if it didn't exist? You know what I mean? If it wasn't never implemented into our society,
We would
is it
desire something.
is it a human need? I guess even like monkeys and stuff use currencies and different kinds of things, like bait their mate into sleeping with them. So I guess they give them like shiny objects and food and stuff like that.
Here, take this pencil I found, baby. Let's write some history.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, I guess part of it depends on the definition of money, you know, as opposed to currency, things like that. So
True. Money versus currency.
you know, you could have different forms of exchange, but, you know, as far as we know, human societies have always had some form of money or symbolic exchange. So, and I mean, I guess there are like primitive tribes that you know, that don't have that, but in terms of, you know, major world civilizations, that tends to be the norm.
So what I wonder is, how does the money go hand in hand with the ancient mystery religion? You know, obviously these things are handcuffed together.
It's a form of control. It's if you control the money and the food, you control the population. And I think that's kind of where it goes. If they have all the money and you can see through these banking bloodlines and these, you got the Goldman Sachs, you got the Rothschilds, you got all these, you know, Bank of England or Britain, and you got all these different financial aspects to life that are very influential. You control someone's life. Look how they control us through inflation and things of that nature. They get unlimited funds and bailouts, but us, the people, we're not getting bailed out. We're paying, you know, the labor, our blood and sweat is paying to bail out these banks that aren't doing with the money that they, you know, things that they said that they would. None of that money is coming back to us. That's for sure.
Can I give a shout out real quick before we launch further into?
Yeah, go right ahead, Jay.
Yeah.
I have to give a gay shout out to Trash Myers in Atlanta. Hey, Trash, how are you?
I wish I got that. I really don't. Though.
I have no idea.
I really wish I
don't
knew.
even know what that means.
It was. I had to give a gay shout out, and we were talking about how I would. Well, no, actually, she said I want a shout out, and I said, "Well, how do you want it?" She said, "Gay." I said,
I guess whatever works. I mean, that's how we handle things on here.
But anyway, I'm sorry. Back to the serious topics here. This is gonna be this is you guys' worst show ever.
Well, no. We say
this is
that
a fun show. We love
consistently.
this
Every night is the worst show ever, Jay. That's what we do here. We put out the worst show on the internet.
It's
that's
like
why people
Wayne's
watch
World
it.
with a twist of coast to coast madness, and
Yeah.
sometimes some Howard Stern has been popping.
We're just
up.
regular guys, though. That's the real thing about us, Jay.
True.
You know, we're not trying to fool anybody. I'm not trying to say I'm some kind of smart guy coming out here telling people about freedom. No, that's why we have guests like you to come on the show and kind of, you know, analyze these things. And that's what you're really good at. You look at the details of some of these really eccentric Hollywood films and, you know, put them on display and show, you know, these symbols and these things that we're talking about that we're just throwing on our T-shirts, you know?
Yeah. Well, you caught me in a goofy mood tonight, so this is you're gonna get maybe a little bit of both. Maybe I can bridge the left side and the right side of my brains, and we can do a bridged edition here where it's.
Is it like 3D brain mapping, or what is that called? There.
Well, but so back to you know, the symbol of exchange. If you think about it. This is something that Alan Watt pointed out that I think is really good. So I want to give credit to him. It's not my own idea, but I do have an article on it where I look at ancient Egyptian philosophy and metaphysics and how they conceived of money, and not just money, but energy as a whole. Since life, reality itself kind of has this binary structure of, being, non-being, or on, off, kind of like a switch on a computer has an on-off switch. Well, the Egyptians were very keen to this, in that they understood that that everywhere in reality there was energy, if you will, and in some places it was positive, in other places it was negative. And so Egyptian mathematics is binary, and it forms the basis of like computers. So when we consider it from a monetary perspective, what we get from this is that there's an understanding all the way from the ancient world that the currency has the ability to symbolize the energy or work of a people, right? So when we think about what it is, well, it's symbolizing all this work that, the workers have put into it, right? It's this, and so it becomes, in that perspective, more than just something symbolic. It actually has power, granted only the power that the society as a whole has given to it. So we recognize this Federal Reserve currency as the only authoritative currency. And that's the means by which it has that power. If everybody stopped using it and stopped recognizing the Federal Reserve notes as the authoritative ones, well, then the whole system would lose its power. But of course, that's not going to happen anytime soon. Of course, they're probably going to collapse it. But regardless, it has this ability to be kind of a channel, like a lightning rod, that takes all the energy of everyone's work, and it becomes this symbolic, almost magical form of, this is the only way that we can have, it's like a god almost, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh yeah, Pope Pelosi washing feet. Did you see that? Like, was it a year ago, or Pelosi?
Not even a few months ago, right? With when the immigrant stuff really fired up.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
And she's like on the ground washing feet, like she's like religious. It's like blending the lines between government and religion, which basically the United States is the military arm of the world, and then you got the the Pope, which is like the religious arm of the world, and then you have the UN, which is really the legislature branch of the world, and we're seeing this all combine to become a one world, almost socialist, totalitarian type government. We're seeing
that's definitely where it's headed, and that's been we want to talk about the Illuminati. Historically, what it is communism. I mean, when Adam Weishaupt established his secret society out of the Jesuits, it was based around the idea of radical communism. So
that was May 1st, right? That was May 1st, 1776, and that's why we have Mayfest, or whatever.
Exactly. And if you look into the history of it, it springs out of older millennial sects of the Middle Ages. So you have these different sectarian groups in the Middle Ages, particularly even in Germany with Thomas Müntzer. The Müntzer Rebellion was this guy basically tried to set up an apocalyptic communitarian sect. And so you have him, you have earlier adherents like Joachim of Fior, who taught kind of radical ascetic communism in his day that was coming. So the history of communism and Marxism is fascinating in that it bears from fruit, or it comes out of a lot of these medieval radical movements that sought to reshape all society, but not just on some ideal, usually based on some kind of cataclysmic, apocalyptic belief. So what's called immanentism, that there's some sort of imminent, coming destruction or collapse or whatever, that forms this fear-based psychology by which you unite all these people, is something that Weishaupt and other thinkers, particularly his descendants in the quote Illuminati, who were people like Antonio Gramsci in Italy, they picked up on all this, and it became a technology. So rather than it being so much this, devil worship type of thing, it's more of an Enlightenment rationalist view, where you where
they
you
set
can
us free, right? They set us free by giving us knowledge.
well, that's correct, but I'm just like at this level, this is just the level of the demagogue. Okay, so like in the French Revolution in 1789, you have a bunch of they're called Jacobins, and so you have Marat and Diderot, and you have Voltaire was part of this tradition. They are the brain children of this tradition, and they're kind of the propagators of it. But what you truly have behind it is that it's a technology used by other foreign powers and other entities, other banking cartels, things like that, who are smarter than the average communist revolutionary, who doesn't realize that this has essentially been a technology for social control for a long time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. Hey, Adam Liberty in the chat wants to know your opinion on Christianity and tribulation. So I know you mentioned a little bit about kind of end times type situation. He wants to know, what is your opinion there?
Yeah, this is something I put a lot of time into. I'm not an end times speculator, because when I was like 19, 20, 21, I was involved in a lot of that kind of evangelical, end time speculation stuff. But there's a lot of good works that I would recommend for somebody who is interested in questioning those assumptions. The school that I would adhere to is called Preterism, and Preterism tends to view most of those prophecies of biblical nature as fulfilled in the first century. So when you look at, say, Daniel 9 or something like that, which is a popular verse amongst the Tim LaHaye Left Behind kind of crowd, what you see in that kind of a prophecy is something that is perfectly fulfilled in the first advent of Christ in Christian theology. So when Jesus comes, he talks about in Luke 21, for example, the all these things that are written in the prophets will be fulfilled in these days. And so he's talking to an audience right in front of him, and he says what's written, in these prophecies, these messianic prophecies that have been looked for, are to be fulfilled in that coming, right? So, again, that's not to say that there's not, end times events. It's not to say that, maybe the book of Revelation or the Apocalypse doesn't have, a mirrored fulfillment later in some, distant aeon or something like that. But I would recommend something like Ken Gentry's book, Before Jerusalem Fell, on the dating of the book of Revelation, or David Chilton's book, Days of Vengeance, which is about a 700-page commentary on the apocalypse. And I read all those back when I was 22, 23.
Sure.
They really changed my view on that. So that's my thought on that.
Well, I'm pretty mixed on the whole thing, too. I'm not a big rapture guy. I don't see it. I think it's mentioned once in the Bible. And I don't see a lot of proof that there is a rapture. So I think it's kind of just a tool that they almost use to co-opt. This is the whole ancient Babylonian mystery religion thing, where they want to deceive people into believing a false mystery religion when they actually think that they're, really worshiping the true Son of God. And in aspect, they're worshiping Son of God. Let
me give you another example of that. Is a lot of people talk about Manly P. Hall and him being this great esoteric teacher or whatever. If you look at his books, if you look at something like Secret Teaching of All Ages, and he is a respected Masonic philosopher and thinker. But if you look at that book, all it is just kind of he does a survey of philosophy and what philosophers taught. He does a kind of a generic treatment of Christian theology, and then he launches into just a whole bunch of, well, here's what all these other religions taught, which, so it's a kind of a comparative religion, which, I'm not opposed to doing comparative religion. I do a lot of that at my website. But point being, you have all this mystical gobbledygook, right? And then when you listen to, say, some of his lectures on YouTube, what does he say in his lectures, right? There's a famous one that he did, Secret Societies and Ancient Mysteries or something. It's titled something like that. There's like several parts to it. But what he does in the first part is he does a lot of this same type of stuff he did in the book. And then in the second lecture, what does he do? Well, he says, we need global socialism. We need world communism. I mean, he literally says we need universal education from a socialist secular perspective. We need universal communism. We need, universal health care. In other words, he literally goes directly to world government, right? So what I'm getting at is that what you have with these people is this dressing stuff up in a lot of mystical gobbledygook, right? Not that I don't think there's truth to mystical stuff, but from their perspective, and I think that Manly P. Hall was probably in on this. I think he knew better. It served an ulterior motive. It served the motive of the idea that we can, bring about the socialist utopia, and that's essentially what he says in his lectures. So, looking past the gobbledygook and saying, what is this really about? Well, the motives here are world socialist revolution and collectivism and enforced atheism.
Well, again, what is a sacrifice there? Because when they had it back then, supposedly when Nimrod had the first one world government or new world order, they were sacrificing children, and that's where bonfires come from, bonfire, and things of the whole Baal worship and things of that nature all stem from this ancient Babylonian mystery religion.
Yeah, you will find in strands of esotericism and occult, particularly black magic type stuff, you will find associations of particularly child sacrifice with Moloch. That is a real association and connection.
Which is Nimrod, essentially, because Nimrod was the first sun god, and therefore Moloch would be a representation of Nimrod, who, really started the whole thing. He's also known as the first Freemason. And, when Semiramis married him, she did so knowing that they'd receive the all-seeing eye, to become illuminated, and that's where the Illuminati really comes from, as far as I found in my readings anyways.
Well, I guess I would just like to stress that while I don't deny the reality of the esoteric side and the supernatural, the mystical, and all that, generally speaking, what's going on with most of the people, except for some of I think probably the high ups, a lot of it's con artistry, and I just think that that's a forgotten element to it, like
the snake oil, right?
Yeah, it's snake oil. It really is, because when you
the Rockefeller sold, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying when Manly Hall dresses up all this esoteric stuff, and then gives you his lectures, what's the point? Well, the point is to get you into socialism, right? So it's a social engineering tool, is what I'm trying to say. Regardless, that's the general effect of what's going on, regardless as to whether this occultist actually does sacrifice to demons, right? So I'm not saying that there aren't people sacrificing to demons. That does happen. It does go on. There are plenty of stories of ritual murders, all this kind of stuff. But I'm just saying what dupes most people is that they see that there's this smoke and mirror kind of mysticism of it, and Katy Perry says she wants to be in the Illuminati, but that's not the Illuminati wasn't that. It was a a rationalist enlightenment sect. So I'm just saying there's a lot of gobbledygook that has to be sifted. You have to sift the wheat from the chaff, is what I'm trying to say.
And I don't even like talking to people about the Illuminati in quotes, because it leads the average people to ask you about Jay-Z and Katy Perry, and that's
exactly
that's
which is
not
all distraction.
Right.
It's all distraction. Jay-Z and Katy Perry are not making the decisions at the Bank for International Settlements. Right. I mean, the Bank for International Settlements is the bank above all the.
What you talk about, Jay? They the most powerful people in the country. That's Jay-Z and Katy Perry. They got millions of dollars. They obviously run the world. I mean, it's clear.
Right. Now, on another level, it is kind of a magic spell, in the sense of, from the Masonic perspective, they talk about the hoodwink. The hoodwink is very, very common in Masonic philosophers and writers, and the hoodwink is tricking you.
Yeah.
So in that regard, Katy Perry and Jay-Z and everybody talking about the Illuminati is a hoodwink. I mean, it's a tricking you to think that you can join this thing, that you're going to be part of this thing. Well, you're not part of this thing. David Rockefeller is not hanging out with you.
And it makes them much bigger than they really are. You know,
Well,
the
and
shadow's a lot bigger.
And not only that, would they be that wide out and open? Wouldn't there be another form of shadow government behind that, because they wouldn't be the ones out and open in that front? You know, that up front.
Yeah, no, I mean the shadow government, right? Which is high level, financiers, generals, these kinds of people.
The people that have shares in the Federal Reserve because it pays dividends.
No doubts.
Which is a private list, by the way. Good luck trying to figure out who's on that.
Exactly. We don't hear or see from the shadow government. Right.
And we always ask if all countries are in debt, where did all the money go all the time? Obviously,
well, it's the hoodwink, I guess.
It's the hoodwink, yeah.
Really, that's what it's a giant hoodwink.
Who has it?
It's perpetual. It's never ending, and they just raise the debt ceiling, and then we learn about it in our Hollywood propaganda, whether it's the music industry or film or otherwise.
Right.
Well,
and I definitely wanted to touch on that because we're already 3/4 of the way through here, and I wanted to get in some of the predictive programming aspects of what Jay talks about.
Right. So at the same time, I mean, there's another level to which I believe there are suppressed truths, suppressed metaphysics, suppressed philosophy, suppressed even religious truths. So I think that that's definitely the case. But I think that in the pop culture discourse of all this Illuminati stuff, it all gets lost. And, most of the time when you turn to something that presents alternative information, it's usually just some kind of new age, quackery that's not worth anybody's time anyway. So, again, it's like the way that writers describe the world of espionage. They describe it as like Alice in Wonderland. And so it's as if we're all in Wonderland, and you're constantly trying to ferret out the true from the false. So at the same time as we're given all this junk, there's another sense in which reality has to be a certain way. There has to actually be, principles behind all the things that exist, why they exist, why they're there, how do they have the formal construction that they do, so forth and so on. And that's what I try to do at my site, is to, ferret out the propaganda, ferret out the programming, ferret out the brainwashing, the mind control, and then say, well, here's some, examples of authenticity, right? Because what a lot of this does is just kind of put everybody into a daze, thinking, well, if all the movies are programming and if all the TV show, where can I go? You can actually find the truth. Truth is out there. Right? X-Files.
If you can believe that, though, because I'm one of those paranoid types that every time I see a Hollywood movie come out, I'm just like, I don't even know if I can watch this, Jay. There's just, if it involves the military, about all the toys they give them to.
You see all the symbolism. It's like you're illuminated.
Well,
Illuminati. You're Illuminati. Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you're going to find the truth in the movies. Although, in a weird way, in a revelation, in the revelation of the method way, you will find a lot of truth in movies. But if you really want to, in my perspective, turning to philosophy, turning to traditional religious beliefs is a great way to actually get a good education and a grounding. If I could, real quick, I would recommend, if you wanted to sum up all of the esoteric stuff in one school, it's generally called traditionalism or perennialism. And so this is authors like Rene Guénon or Julius Evola or Philip Sherrard. And they don't have the same perspectives. They differ amongst one another, but they're kind of generically grouped into this school. And they have a pretty good understanding of the totality of esoteric stuff that is not contaminated by, a whole lot of Masonic hoodwink or pop culture gobbledygook. And so, for example, there's a really good essay by Dr. Philip Sherrard on logic and the absolute. You can find that at studiesandcomparative religion.com. and his last name is Sherrard. He also has a really good essay called Tradition and the Traditions, so where he looks at all these different religious traditions as they've come down through history, and he does a kind of comparison of them, doing what I'm talking about, ferreting out, true from the false based on the presuppositions of those different traditions. So those are some good places to start that I recommend as a person who's studied philosophy for a long time, to get a good grounding in where to go to not be hoodwinked. Again, that's just my analysis. You don't have to agree with that or accept that, but those are my recommendations. But if you want to talk about some of the recent predictive programming I've looked at, I did an article, Hollywood Babylon, and this comes out of Kenneth Angers, who was actually a Hollywood occultist. And he was part of the Crowleyan, OTO type circles, and wrote this book on how Hollywood is kind of a modern version of Babylon. So, Kristan, this is right up your alley.
We did post that, by the way, as well, on the Rundown Live.
Well, basically, America is the new Babylon. That's right. The Statue of Liberty is Semiramis. That's Nimrod's wife and mother. And she represents that by the big gleaming crown on her head and the sun, per se, meaning that she's illuminated. So it was given to us by who? The Freemasons. So
yeah, it was a French Revolutionary gift from the Jacobins, like I was talking about.
Yeah.
In that article, though, when you talk about movies, there's one example of how film or acting is another indicator of what all this is about. Is you have these quotes from comparative religion scholars that talk about how acting or theater has its origins in the idea of dramatic plays put on for the gods. So one of the scholars says sacred dramas are to be performed for Isis, for Sybil, for Eleusis, the Eleusinian mysteries, and the idea is that you invoke by acting out the role, you take on the characteristics of the deity.
You create a real moment. It's a real moment, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So this uniting with your higher self or whatever is the ancient view of what what the arts in terms of dramatic plays are all about. The Homer, the Iliad, these were written to be recited so that the traditions of the gods could continue on. But when we look at films like Eyes Wide Shut, and we see the Renaissance orgy that goes on in that, that actually is an old tradition as well. And like I said, it comes out of the Renaissance, where the nobility, the elite, would have these actual plays that they would reenact the stories of the gods, and they would, if the play called for an orgy, well, you'd have an orgy.
Sounds convenient to guys that can't get laid.
Exactly.
Hey, yeah.
Kriston's happy.
Hey, now,
I'm
a little libertarian.
I tell girls that I'll be putting on some home theater quite often, and I'm looking for.
It's a new channel, guys.
I'm looking for actresses. I'm
being
being
Howard Stern moment. Just kidding.
So this masked ball tradition that you see, people think about it as, quote, Illuminati, which in a way it is. I mean, it's what's happening in Eyes Wide Shut is portraying a sex magic kind of ritual, but it's not that new or novel in the sense that this is what they did in the Renaissance.
Well, what about some of the other articles like you've posted recently, like ISIS and Iron Man 3? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, I mean, my view is that the plan behind doing this, and I think that the CIA and Hollywood have long time, been flip sides of the same coin. When the establishment military-industrial complex saw the power of the camera and film, obviously they were immediately interested in it for propaganda purposes. So it's always been seen in that way. But when you look at what I believe are staged ISIS videos, I think they bear all the characteristics of just a cheesy, classic Al-Qaeda kind of theatrical performance.
Well, they have freaking Foot Clan masks on, and they're lifting
and fancy
logs.
intros like better than
fights
ours.
in Foot Clan masks, like you're gonna be able to see things in
Yeah,
that. I mean,
it's
it's theatric. Their shoes don't match, their socks don't match, but they all got the same masks on, like it was shot in Hollywood.
It's like
bizarre.
Cobra. It's Cobra Command.
Yeah, right.
And so you have the intention. I believe the direct intention of putting these things into fictional plots, like Iron Man, where you have the Mandarin is this Far Eastern terrorist, and to the American mind, they don't know anything, so they wouldn't know the difference between Mandarin and Al Qaeda. There's no difference there, or ISIS or whatever. It's all this, everybody in the Middle East is a terrorist for the average American. So it's a direct, definite, unquestionable, verified psychological warfare plan to do that. It's not by accident. It's not happenstance. The Pentagon has had a long time connection with Hollywood, and they have for a long time aided in writing scripts. I mean, you can find articles very easy on this. One great example, you remember Top Gun?
Right.
Well, Top Gun was actually aided by the Pentagon. They did that as a recruiting film. And so recruitment, skyrocketed in the 80s under Reagan, because Reagan put a whole bunch of money into Hollywood. So you can find several 80s recruitment films. Stripes is another one with Bill Murray. Top Gun, Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen, which is an awful movie. It's terrible.
Well, even up to now, Zero Dark 30, and they just made the one with Mark Wahlberg playing in the woods against everybody, all the terrorists,
Yeah. Right. So in other words, it's never stopped. But you can find, easy examples online now, and documented, verified, transfers of funds, and there've been whole documentaries on this. Operation Hollywood is a whole documentary on the Pentagon using Hollywood. And again, I mean, you can't use aircraft carriers without the military's permission, right? So the military is not going to sign on to you using an aircraft carrier in a film unless you portray the military in a positive light.
And they will edit your script.
Oh, absolutely. But I go so far as to say that a lot of times the scripts are written by people who work for intelligence and things like that. So that's why you see so much of this. It's not happenstance. And at the same time, there are a lot of people who aren't a part of this. But now that, like you're saying with Katy Perry talking about the Illuminati, and Lady Gaga talks about it, and Jay-Z, well, now it becomes like a regurgitating advertisement in pop culture for itself. You see what I'm saying? So now that it's in pop culture, it just kind of furthers its own. Now it's popular to talk about that.
It's
right?
trendy and fun, right?
Exactly,
like healthcare and being a Democrat.
Yeah, exactly.
Common Core.
It's good. I've seen how they've done that, Kristan. I'm not really sure how they do those new math problems, but I know it's a lot more difficult.
I still have no idea. I think it's pretty. I don't want to get into it.
You have to be
I'm upset about it. I'm upset that they're
you got to be initiated into the mysteries of Common Core to understand.
I see.
See, there it is. Ancient Babylonian.
It's much more advanced than I am. I understand.
Yeah, you don't understand why 2 + 2 is 5, but you haven't learned the mystery.
But I tried.
Yes.
I tried, Jay.
Unless you
That's all that
graduated
matters.
30 years ago.
Well, it's all about lowering standards and regulating
say.
people into cages, apparently, and then the elite will eventually be robots that float away in computers on space. So we'll just look forward to that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna take all these old computer bits I've got laying around here, and I'm gonna construct a new robotic body out of these keyboards that are laying here.
You'll be all right, Jay. They'll need your mind later, so they'll be able to pick your brain. Me and Kristan, I don't know, we're in trouble, man.
Well, I don't know if I'd rather die or be in a vat. I mean, if my head's just in a vat, that doesn't sound.
You're gonna be like one of those Futurama characters with the head in the bottle. You run around on a leg with a pedestal. It'll be all right. You'll be fine, Jay.
Well, didn't they just have some Illuminati symbolism pop up in your show?
No, that was, I think you're talking about Adult Swim, the new Mr. Pickles show where they're all satanic and Illuminati. And I think that's just a ratings thing, just like how we were talking about Katy Perry and Jay-Z. It's just a way to get people to pay attention.
It's viral marketing is what it is. And so
exactly.
The marketing people realize that this is a trend. This is everywhere. People read Vigilant Citizen and not Jay's Analysis, which I would like them to come to Jay's Analysis if they like it.
Yes, you have a website, jaysanalysis.com. Jaysanalysis.com.
Everyone go to jaysanalysis.com.
Right.
And we even repost a lot of Jay's stuff on our site, too.
It's smart.
Well, so, given that it's a viral marketing thing and people have seen this out there, the marketing companies are aware of this, and all they're trying to do is just, go with whatever the latest, wherever the wind blows. So
yeah, it sounds usual. Jaysanalysis.com is the website. Anything else you want to leave us with, man? I really appreciate the conversation. It's always in-depth as usual. You bring a lot of awesome information. We're going to have you back, man. It's always a great talk.
Well, let me ask you guys. All right, I'm going to interview you guys. What kind of what kind of stuff would you guys like to see? You got a movie you want to see me do an analysis of?
I wonder that. Yeah, I'd have to put some thought into that. I don't, like right off the top of my head. I'm not really sure, but I'm sure if I sat down and thought about it, I could definitely reel off a few. Right now, off the top of my head, I couldn't think of any movies except for The Sandlot.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not doing Brokeback Mountain. I know that's what you guys.
No, definitely no Brokeback Mountain. I don't know. I really don't know.
Boogie Nights, maybe.
That's definitely an interesting. I'm
Debbie does Dallas.
Boom. We don't even have sound effects. I got to do our own sound effects, Jay. Hey, Jay, can you leave us with an impression?
Who would you like?
Leave us with Webster Tarpley. He's never been on the show before.
Yes, no.
Webster Tarpley coming to you from the Beltway, Washington, D.C.
Oh my goodness, that is so great. I wonder if we could just do a whole fake show where you just pretend to be Webster Tarpley and we just interview you. And I wonder if anybody can tell the difference.
You guys said the National Report.
You could do a whole fake show of just fake interviews. It could be like 20 people. I could do like 20 different impersonations. You could do 20 different people.
I just lost my volume there, but
so
jaysanalysis.com, Jay Dyer, I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Yeah, it was. Thanks.
Jay Dyer, take it easy. There goes Jay Dyer. Jaysanalysis.com. I lost my volume there right at the end, Kristan. I missed the rest of his impersonation there.
That was a really good impersonation.
I heard the beginning of it, and then I got cut off there. But don't forget about FPRN Radio. That's Encore, 12 a.m. Central, 1 a.m. Eastern. That's tonight. 12 a.m. Central, 1 a.m. Eastern, FPRNradio.com. Don't forget about wideawakeamerica.com/live, 10 p.m. Corey Washington, he's going to be live at 10 if you guys want to hang out. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be on Citizens Awareness Vanguard tonight at about 9:30, here in about 30 minutes. So if you guys want to go over to cavradio.net, there's a link on the Facebook. I'll share it. If you guys want to check that out, I'm going to be hanging out with those guys. Chris Perkins was on the show last week, so I'm going over there to hang out with them. Anything else, Kristan, before we're out of here? I think we got a guest tomorrow. Dennis Brennan's going to be on from Harvest Fest, right?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting conversation. No, I think that's what it. Make sure you guys send us your news tips at show tips at the Rundown Live. Make sure you guys check out Mike's interview tonight. It'll be great. And also make sure you guys contribute, if you can, to the Merch Quick 2014 for as little as $5. And add us on Facebook, tune in, and don't forget to download the app. And that's about it. Stay classy, Milwaukee.
Sounds good, guys. Don't forget about Corey. He's live at 10. You can check me out on Citizen Awareness Vanguard. I'll post a link on the Rundown Live Facebook, cavradio.net. That's their site if you guys want to come hang out there. Other than that, we'll be back tomorrow with Dennis Brennan, Harvest Fest in Madison. We'll be talking with him. I'm off Thursday, and I think Ben Swan's going to be on with us, so we got an interesting week. We'll be back.
I'll still be live Thursday, though.
Oh, Kristan will be live Thursday, so we'll still have a show, guys. But other than that, we'll be back tomorrow. RundownLive.com. We love you guys in the chat. Special thanks to Jay Dyer. Keep contributing to the Indiegogo campaign. We're almost there at 500, guys. Jaysanalysis.com.
Check your stuff out. Pretty good. Anyway.
Check out the